Hello everyone, this is Jill Peterson, and this is my technology integration project for applying instructional media and technology. I've been interested in using podcasts in a classroom for a while, and I knew I wanted my project to incorporate them in some way. So for this project, students will learn about and explore different types of podcasts over the course of several mini lessons. Students will then be asked to create a podcast episode using GarageBand, and then they will share their podcast with their classmates, and they'll listen to and provide feedback on the podcast episodes their peers created. Finally, students will be given the opportunity to reflect on their work. This unit is designed for 4th grade students and is intended to last for approximately 3 weeks. It is broken down into 3 parts: exploring podcasts, creating an episode, and then finally sharing and reflection. There are several TECs that fit with this unit, both in language arts and technology. For language arts, the TECs are focused on the students' listening, speaking, and response skills. You can pause to read the specific TECs if you are so inclined. The technology TECs are focused on creating, collaborating, and evaluating work using different types of media. You can also pause here if you want to read the specific TECs. And as I said, I've been interested in figuring out how to incorporate podcasting in the classroom. I've never done it before because I've taught such little ones that I couldn't figure out a way to do it without it just ending up being silly. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know that they would be capable and the episodes would surely end up being very entertaining, but I wanted to use this opportunity in this project to design something for older students, since that's something out of my comfort zone, and it's something that I'm going to be doing more in the coming school year as I transition from a classroom teacher to a digital learning coach for the entire elementary campus. I feel there are many benefits of exploring podcasting in the classroom. Students can work on visualization and mental images. It helps them work on their listening skills as well as their listening comprehension, and it can benefit students whose first language is not English by exposing them to a variety of vocabulary. It can also increase student engagement, especially if students are able to choose appropriate podcasts to listen to that are based on their interests. The technology that will be used for this unit is Google Slides, Google Drive, GarageBand, and iPads. Google Drive is a cloud-based file storage service that allows users to upload and share files with others. Google Slides is a cloud-based presentation software. In Google Slides, users can create, share, and edit presentations online and can collaborate in real time. And GarageBand is a digital audio workstation and music production software developed by Apple. And I chose GarageBand as the app for recording the podcast in this unit because of its ease of use, but also because my campus has one-to-one iPads for each class, so it's something that we already have available to us. When designing this unit, I utilized John Keller's ARCS model. ARCS stands for attention, relevance, confidence, and satisfaction. This unit's activity correlations with the ARCS model are as follows. For attention, students are asked about what they may already know about podcasting. They're shown a short video about podcasting and are then asked to collaborate to come up with a class definition. For relevance, objectives are clearly stated, and the students are given the opportunity to explore a variety of podcasts and are given time to answer questions and reflect. Confidence is built in students by providing them with clear instructions and support built in for success for each part of this unit. Students will gain satisfaction from not only reflecting on their own work, but by providing feedback to their peers. And the following slides will be used to represent the lesson plans for this unit. Part 1 contains 3 lessons for student exploration. For Lesson 1, students will learn about the purpose and key features of podcasts and will work together to define what a podcast is. It's intended to last about 30 minutes. First, you would discuss or have a class discussion about the following questions. When you read this word, what comes to mind? Podcasts. Have you seen or heard this word before? If so, where? So then you would watch this video. So you'd let the video play completely through for the students. And then finally on this slide, students would work together as a class to come up with the definition of a podcast. And then the teacher can type the definition in this box. For lesson 2, types of podcasts, students will listen to various podcasts and will identify the topic, audience, and structure. This is intended to last approximately 80 minutes. So then here are the instructional slides for that one. So you would ask, what type of podcast do you think you would like to listen to? And then have the students share. Then you would share the different types of podcast structures on slide 1, which is this slide, and the characteristics of each. You would share the importance of a topic and audience and show the video that's here on this slide. Then students will listen to this podcast episode right here, and they will work in small groups to identify the structure, topic, and audience, and then you would share responses as a class. And then finally, in this part, students will independently listen to 5 minutes of 3 different podcasts, and then they will identify the topic, audience, and structure of each and rate how they liked each podcast that they listened to. For lesson 3, parts of a podcast, students will participate in activities to identify the different parts of a podcast. This lesson is intended to be broken up over the course of 2 or 3 sessions of approximately 40 minutes each. So here you would review the types of podcasts, the audience, and the topic from the previous lesson or previous days. And then the following slides introduce the students to different parts of a podcast. So you'll work as a class to listen to the different parts of a podcast, and then after each part you listen to, students will answer questions pertaining to that part of the podcast. So there's a slide about introduction where they listen to it and they answer questions. One that talks about segments, conclusion, theme music, segues. And then after they get through all that, students will be tasked with listening to a podcast episode of their choice. They'll listen to the entire episode and then write a review for it. Students will share their reviews in small groups once they have been completed. So here's on this last slide there's kid appropriate or student appropriate podcasts for them to choose from. So then you would come back together as a class to discuss what they noticed that was similar or different between the different podcast episodes that were shared, and then move on to the next part. So this takes us to part 2 of the unit. This is the part of the unit where the students will take what they've learned previously about podcasts and will apply it by creating and recording a podcast episode with GarageBand. This part of the unit is designed to last around 2 weeks, but it can be shortened or lengthened depending on the needs of the class. So it poses a question for them and tells them they're going to be creating their own podcast. And it's divided into smaller portions to help scaffold the process. So there's instructional slides that are provided to help them along the way, and each part includes questions and things for them to think about, and like prompting and checklists and all of those things. So they're going to brainstorm, tells them what to think about. Here's another slide on brainstorming. Then it has them plan out their podcast. It has this checklist for them to use to help guide them. So planning out the segments of their podcast, planning out their conclusion. So then it gives them slides about practicing. So maybe they come up with a script and they have to rehearse it. So it tells them you need a quiet space, or you need headphones, you need your device, all the things that you might need. It reminds them about volume and speed, tone. And then finally, when they're ready to actually record, this slide will take them to a tutorial for how to record and edit a podcast in GarageBand. So I included this, like my thoughts behind this unit would be that maybe students had already explored with GarageBand and done some things in it. And so this tutorial is just intended for them to go visit, to keep them on track, because there's several steps for them to record. And so this is there to help guide them through that process if they need that help. It tells them that they can add music and sound effects, but then it reminds them, don't make it distracting, because the focus is the content of their podcast. After they're done recording, students will evaluate their own podcast by completing a final review. So then in part 3 of the project, they're going to share and comment on their peers' work. So these slides give them instructions for sharing. So what they're going to do is in GarageBand, they're going to save their podcast episode, and it has steps for them to go through. They're going to save it into Google Drive, and there will be a class folder for them to save into, so they're all compiled in one place. And then they're going to go through and choose 3 different podcast episodes to listen to from their peers. And in Google Drive, when it's saved in there, when you click on the audio file for it to play, there's a comment function that they can click on in the top right corner where they can type in feedback for their peers. And then they can go look at what the peers said about their podcasts. Finally, students will be given the opportunity to reflect on their work by filling out a reflection sheet. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and thank you for listening. And hopefully I've inspired you to explore podcasting in your own classroom. Thank you.